Today I'm digging into one of those cases that honestly has stuck with me all week. The unsolved death of Lori Malloy. We're in East Providence, Rhode Island, back in March of 1993, where 30-year-old Lori Lee Malloy, known by friends as Sled Dog, was found naked and dead on her bathroom floor. Right out the gate, everything about that scene was just off. The police walked into Lori's apartment on a welfare check, and they found the front door open, bathroom faucet running, 2 drinking glasses and some leftover salad sitting on the kitchen table. The fridge fully stocked but unplugged. Odd, right? Welcome to Beyond the Silence. Whispers across America. I'm Sammy, your host, driven to shine light on the dark corners of forgotten cases, demand justice, and keep alive the voices the world has tried to silence. Let's get into the ominous case and death of Lori Malloy. Let me paint this for you. Lori was found lying face down, completely naked, bruises clear as day on her thighs and arm. But it's the hair that will never leave me. Her dark brown hair, torn out in clumps, literally all over the apartment, wrapped around her fingers, around one foot, even a strange little bracelet on her wrist. There was a clump of someone else's light brown hair stuffed in a shoe on a table by the door, like it had been yanked clean out of a scalp. It's no wonder detectives took one look at this and said, "We've got a homicide here." They processed 14 pieces of evidence that night. Towels with mucus, kids' clothes, sheets, that hair, those glasses. They even did a sexual assault kit, which should tell you just how suspicious they really were. See, it was more than just the physical evidence, too. Lori had a complicated, often violent relationship history. I mean, her marriage to scary Harry Mariano had just ended weeks before, and there were police reports of domestic violence, restraining orders, threats. Her life wasn't exactly calm leading up to that night. All of this, the open doors, the appliances unplugged, hair everywhere. What's that saying? The house was almost staged, like something you'd see in those cases where little details tell a much bigger story. Actually, I read another one a few years back. A woman gone missing, but every light in her house was left on and the sheets were stripped. When you see a scene that strange, your gut tells you the truth isn't what's on the surface. Where was I going with this? Oh, right. The point is, police knew from the very first night. This was anything but natural. Now, here's where things take a turn. Dr. F. John Krolikowski. You've probably heard that name if you follow cold cases in New England. He was the medical examiner called in the next day. And well, he ended up being stripped of his credentials in not 1, but 2 states for exactly this sort of thing. But I'm jumping ahead. Dr. Krolikowski officially decided Lori died of natural causes, specifically hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a rare heart condition. But when you look at his own notes, there's basically no major damage to Lori's heart. And he skips over the hair, doesn't even mention the state of her scalp. Toxicology, comes back clean, even though the file labels her as a known cocaine user. I might be wrong, but how do you miss physical signs of violence and call it a natural death? So just like that, the homicide investigation was wrapped up and closed. The cops had to take the ME's ruling as gospel. I think most people don't realize one report like that, and the whole system just grinds to a halt. If the doctor says natural causes, suddenly detectives are told to stand down, evidence is boxed up, families get told there's nothing more to do. Dr. Thomas Andrew, a forensic pathologist up in New Hampshire, even said that if the cardiac findings weren't all there, the entire death certificate is built on sand. He laid it out plain as day, without a thorough workup, without tissue samples and the right kind of examination. The case should have stayed open, but it didn't. So here's where everything changes. Lauren Malloy, Lori's daughter. She was just a toddler when her mom died, and for most of her life she accepted what everyone told her. Her mother's heart just stopped. Except in 2020, Lauren gets this message out of the blue from one of her mom's old friends. The friend says, "Hey, what you've heard all these years, it isn't true. Lori was murdered and you need to look at the case again." That was it for Lauren. She pulled all the old files. She went searching for answers and refused to drop it, even after decades of doors being slammed in her face. She brought the case to the Rhode Island Medical Examiner's office, and you know what happened? The acting chief said he flat out refuted the old autopsy. Said hypertrophic cardiomyopathy wasn't the cause. Said there wasn't any clear reason for Lori's death at all, which is a strange thing for a state doctor to admit when re-examining a 30-year-old file. Lauren kept pushing, petitioned for Lori's body to be exhumed, tracked down new forensic experts, and went to the press. Her mother's case became public for the first time in decades, then made its way to national coverage. Meanwhile, old pieces of evidence from 1993, like the assault kit, miraculously hadn't been tossed out. Everything was on the table for fresh analysis. I've talked with families who've walked this same path, and look, long-term advocacy feels like living life in waiting rooms and inboxes. Lauren once described the wait for forensic results as like holding your breath not knowing when you'll get to breathe again. Day 50, day 100. She even posted little countdowns to social media, just so people could see how the not knowing eats you alive. Even now, more than 3 decades after Lori's death, Lauren's still waiting for answers. Her mom's body exhumed, new tissue tests pending, attorneys and detectives passing the case back and forth. But that hope, it never went out. And you know, for every case like this, where a daughter stands up and refuses to be ignored, there's a whole set of families quietly doing that work in the background. Every voice matters, even if change takes years. Alright, I could talk about this for hours, but that's where we'll leave Lori Malloy's story today. On the edge of hope, with justice not forgotten, just waiting to be claimed. That's it for today's episode. The questions remain, and the search continues. Because every lost soul deserves answers, and every story deserves to be heard. What are your thoughts? What do you believe happened? Share your voice, because sometimes the smallest detail can spark the biggest breakthrough. I'm Sammy, and this is Beyond the Silence, Whispers Across America. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.